Hi, first graders. I hope you enjoyed your long weekend. Today, we are going to read the story, The Earth Inside Out, Part 3. Our learning targets are to distinguish between magma and lava, describe volcanoes and geysers, demonstrate an understanding of the word destructive, identify similarities and differences between volcanoes and geysers, and that is all. Our key vocabulary are destructive, geysers, lava, and magma. Destructive is an adjective. Remember, our adjectives are the words that we use to describe someone or something. Destructive means causing damage. Okay. He was a very destructive puppy and often ate through shoes and slippers. Uh-oh. Geysers is a noun. Geysers are places on Earth where hot water and steam shoot up from inside the Earth onto its surface. Many people travel to see the geysers in Yellowstone National Park. You see all that steam in that picture? It's a geyser. Lava. Lava is a noun. Lava is magma that has come out onto the Earth's surface. After the lava rushed down the mountainside, it began to cool and harden. Magma is a noun. Magma is the molten rock that is deep inside the mantle of the earth. The hot magma slowly made its way to the earth's crust. Okay, so what have we learned so far? What are the earth's layers? Let's look at this picture. Okay, let me get my pointer maybe. There we go. What is this top layer? What's it called? It's the layer that we live on. The crust. And what about this red layer? This is the layer that makes up most of our Earth. The mantle. And what about this orange? That's our outer core. And the yellow? Inner core. Very good. Okay. So we also learned that heat causes magma to move around in the mantle and sometimes rise up through the surface of the crust. What happens when that magma rises up through the cracks in the crust of the earth? What happens when the magma, remember we talked about there's magma and there's all this pressure and then all of a sudden it comes through the cracks of the crust. It's called a volcano, okay? Let's look at this picture down here. What do we see? Oops, sorry. What do we see in that picture? A volcano. What are our three important words to remember when talking about geology? Heat. What about pressure and time? Ready? Now you do it all by yourself. Go. Heat. Pressure. Time. Very good. All right. Why are those words important? Why do we care about them? Because they make the earth change, right? Okay. Magma versus lava. So magma is the molten rock that is inside the mantle. The heat and the pressure cause it to move. When the pressure is too much, the magma is forced out onto the Earth's surface. Okay? Lava is the magma that has come out onto the Earth's surface. When the magma is forced up through the cracks of the Earth's crust and erupts out onto the surface, it's called lava. So if we have lava in here in the mantle, right, and it's moving around, it's still magma. As soon as it comes onto the crust, it's called lava. Okay? So it's still the same, it's still made up of the same stuff. It's just we have a different name for it when it comes onto the earth. Okay. Let's see. Remember, our key vocabulary, we have destructive, geysers, lava, and magma. Listen carefully to find out more about volcanoes and to learn about geysers. Ah, Hawaii. I just love this picture. The land is beautiful, the people are friendly, the weather is perfect, and the surfing is terrific. Personally, however, my favorite part of Hawaii is the volcanoes. If you like volcanoes, and all geologists do, then there is really no better place than Hawaii. When most people think of volcanoes, they think of the top blowing off a mountain and lava flowing out everywhere. Remember that lava is the magma once the magma has come out onto the Earth's surface. Volcanic activity actually comes in many different forms, not all of which are as spectacular as a mountaintop eruption or explosion. Hawaii is made up of 8 major islands, 7 of which are inhabited. If a place is inhabited, that means that people live there. Okay, so there's one of the islands that people don't live on, but the other 7 they do. Okay, so here is a map. We've got the United States right here. Okay, we're probably right about there. Over here is Hawaii. It's an island in the ocean. See? The islands of Hawaii were formed by volcanic activity. In other words, if it weren't for volcanoes, Hawaii would not be there at all. Hawaii is one of the best known volcanic hotspots in the world. A hotspot is a place where there has been continuous volcanic activity for a long time. Why do you think they would call it a hotspot with all those volcanoes? Because there's a lot of hot lava, right? In Hawaii's case, the volcanic activity started underwater. In fact, most volcanic activity occurs underwater, deep down near the ocean floor. Down there, the crust is fairly thin, so it's easier for magma to seep up from the mantle. Magma is molten rock that is deep inside the mantle of the Earth. What do we call it once it comes out onto the Earth's surface? Lava. Very good. When a volcano erupts underwater, the lava it releases cools very quickly. Over millions of years, this lava piles up. Okay. Did you hear that word time? Remember, it says it takes a very long time for the lava to pile up into mountains. Okay, so time, that was one of our 3 geology words, is changing the Earth. Okay, that is what happened in Hawaii. Over time, the lava continually erupting from the hot spot built up a pile that now reaches from the deep ocean floor all the way to the ocean surface, where it became new, dry land. So how did Hawaii form? From volcanoes, right? Over time, the lava erupted from the hotspot, and the lava would build up in a pile as it cooled. And the pile reached from the deep ocean floor all the way up into the ocean surface, where it became new, dry land. Hawaiian volcanoes erupt gradually, or little by little. The lava bubbles and gurgles and sputters rather than shooting up out of the earth all at once. There is still plenty of volcanic activity on some Hawaiian islands, which means the island chain is still growing. Now let's compare the Hawaiian volcano to another type of volcano, the kind where a mountaintop explodes. This volcano erupted in the state of Washington, which is on the west coast of the United States. This is what Mount St. Helens looked like in the year 1980, so about 40 years ago. Well, really 41. Mount St. Helens proves that it is generally fairly easy to predict where a volcano will erupt. The hard part is figuring out when. Mount St. Helens has erupted many times over the course of 40,000 years or so. During this time, the mountain's size and shape has changed. Magma is constantly building up within Mount St. Helens. Unlike the magma in the Hawaiian volcanoes, however, the magma in this area is much stickier. So it doesn't gurgle and sputter through little vents. Instead, the magma gets stuck. An incredible pressure builds up within the mountain. Eventually, the pressure becomes so intense that the mountain cannot hold it anymore, and boom. Okay, so the pressure caused the volcano to erupt. The eruption of Mount St. Helens was the most destructive volcanic eruption in U.S. history. Remember, that word destructive means causing damage. Hundreds of homes were destroyed, and thousands of acres of forest were leveled or flattened when this mighty volcano erupted. In an instant, the top and one side of the mountain were literally blown away. Lava was not the main problem with Mount St. Helens. Rather, it was the immense or big amount of rock and ash that exploded into the air, as well as the landslides that followed as the mountain came crashing down into the valley below. So in that picture, you can actually see there's the top getting blown off, and then this side here on the left is getting blown off too. This is what Mount St. Helens looks like today. It's still tall enough to rise above the clouds, but if you compare this to the first picture you saw, you'd see that it's not the same mountain it used to be. So this is what it looks like now. That's what it used to look like. Okay. All right. Mount St. Helens has erupted several more times after that day in 1980, and it still erupts occasionally to this day. Here is another place in the United States where there's lots of volcanic activity. This place is called Yellowstone National Park. Yellowstone is mostly in Wyoming, with parts of it extending into Idaho and Montana. Yellowstone National Park is home to many interesting, beautiful sights. Like Hawaii, Yellowstone is situated on top of a hot spot, a place where there's lots of magma close to the surface. In Yellowstone, the magma has stayed underground and it has not erupted onto the surface. So they don't have lava there. Yellowstone is famous for its geysers. A geyser is a rare geologic event that occurs when water seeps down through the cracks into the crust and meets up with hot rocks. When the water touches the hot rocks, it turns to steam. Remember that heat causes liquid water to become gas called steam. The steam is what comes out of things like, if you think about a hot bowl of soup or some hot chocolate, there's some steam coming off, okay? As more water seeps in, more steam is created, and pressure begins to build. Eventually, all this heat and pressure force the steam to find a way back out. As in other types of volcanic activity that you've learned about, this process is caused by the buildup and release of pressure underground. The result is a geyser, steam and water spewing out of the earth. So lava comes out of a volcano. What comes out of a geyser? Water and steam. These particular geysers are relatively small. They spurt and bubble all day long in water pools or springs, which have a pretty bluish-green color created by certain minerals that collect there. We're going to talk about minerals another day. This geyser has a name. It's called Old Faithful. The word faithful means trustworthy or reliable. So why do you think that this geyser might be called Old Faithful? Maybe it's reliable. What does it mean to be reliable? It means that people can count on you, okay? Old Faithful got its name because you can count on the fact that it is going to erupt several times each day. It is not possible to predict exactly when it will erupt, but it typically blows its lid about every 90 minutes, give or take a few. Old Faithful spews out steam and hot water for anywhere from 1 to 5 minutes. It can spew as much as 8,000 gallons of water up to 185 feet in the air. Every day during the summer, when the park is full of visitors, hundreds of people gather around to watch the world's most famous geyser. Although they come in many forms, shapes, and sizes, all volcanoes and geysers have two things in common. They are Earth's way of releasing heat and pressure from deep underground, and each one tells us a little more about the history of the Earth. And one other thing, all volcanoes and geysers are extremely hot, so always keep a safe distance and admire them from afar. If you need to hop up and take a wiggle break really quickly before we do our questions, go ahead and do that. All right, how did volcanoes form the islands of Hawaii? Underwater volcanoes erupted and the lava built up. So in the bottom of the ocean, there were some cracks for the lava to come out, right? The pressure, or for the magma to come out. And then it became lava. And the water cooled the lava and turned it to rock. And over time, those layers of rock came all the way up to the water's surface and created dry land. How are lava and magma the same? They're both molten rock, right? And how are they different? Lava is magma that has erupted out onto the Earth's surface. Magma is molten rock that's still deep inside the mantle. What's a geyser? A geyser is a place where steam and hot water erupt from the Earth. Who is Old Faithful? Old Faithful was one of the well-known geysers in Yellowstone National Park. What's a hot spot? That's where there is lots of volcanic activity. And how is a volcano like a geyser? How are they the same? Volcanoes and geysers are both eruptions caused by heat and pressure inside the Earth, and they are both over the hot spots, right? How are they different? Think about what comes out of a volcano versus what comes out of a geyser. Volcano is an eruption of lava, ash, and gas, whereas a geyser is an eruption of steam and hot water. All right, let's do our word work. In the read aloud you heard, the eruption of Mount St. Helens was the most destructive volcanic eruption in U.S. history. Say the word destructive for me. Destructive. Can you say it like a robot? Destructive. Can you say it in a mouse voice? Destructive. How about in a whisper voice? Destructive. Okay. Remember that destructive means causing damage. The destructive winds of the thunderstorm took some of the tiles off the roof of our school. Uh-oh, that would be bad. What is something that might be destructive? Can you give me an example? Maybe your baby brother? All right. Let's do our game. It's our stand-up, sit-down game. So I'm going to describe a situation, and if I describe something that is destructive, you're going to say, that's destructive, and you're going to stand up. If I say something that's not destructive, you're going to say, that's not destructive, and you're going to sit down. The forest fire burned the homes of many animals. Did that cause damage to things? Absolutely. So stand up. That is destructive. The winds of the hurricane blew a tree onto my neighbor's car. That's destructive. We saw a beautiful rainbow after the thunderstorm. That's not destructive. The tornado blew the roof right off the grocery store. That's destructive. The grass changed from brown to green after the spring rains. That's not destructive. Okay, let's see. let's make sure that we hit all of our learning targets. Did we distinguish between magma and lava? Yes, remember magma is before it gets onto the surface of the earth. Lava is what we call it once it's on the surface of the earth. Did we talk about volcanoes and geysers? Did we work with the word destructive? And did we talk about similarities and differences between volcanoes and geysers? Yes, we did. All right. Have a great day. Bye.